Good evening, I'm Jeff Koinange, and this is Jeff Koinange Live. Tonight, it's going to be one of those shows that are going to be completely uplifting, giving Kenyans what we always want to hear about ourselves, the best of who we are. It is also a show about the worst of who we are, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But real quick, my guest today, 3 years ago, when Turkana was threatened with a famine of biblical proportions and an initiative called Kenyans for Kenya was put together, he decided to donate an entire month's salary to the cause. A year later, in 2012, when a minibus was blown up in Eastleigh and a mother holding her 3-year-old infant was blown away, the infant survived, he decided to donate another month's salary. Today, he's come all the way from Kitale, and he's decided to donate another month's salary to the cause of baby Osenia, the 1-year-old with a bullet in his head. By the way, my guest is a police constable. So when he's donating his month's salary, we're not talking very much, but it's the gift behind the giving. The bad part about who we are, I'll tell you in a moment. But for now, it is time to ask those hard questions we always ask. It is time for Jeff Koinange Live. And thanks for joining us, all of you joining us right now. We are live at the Terrace Restaurant of the Intercontinental Hotel. And this is one of those shows that are going to leave you asking for more. The bad part about us being Kenyans, listen to my guest's resume. He's got a BA in political science and sociology. He's got a law degree, an LLB. He's got a postgraduate degree in journalism. Right now, he's working on a master's degree in governance and ethics at MKU Kitale campus. With all those qualifications, he is still a constable in the Kenya Police Force. Somebody tell me if that makes any sense. As you think about that, think about the month's salary he's about to give up. Why does he keep doing these things? What is it about Mohammed Elmoge that makes him come out every time there's a crisis? Tonight, he is my guest. We're going to tackle all these and more issues. Constable, good to see you, man.
Praise the Lord, man.
Amen, yes. You literally just arrived from Kitale?
Surely.
8-hour drive?
8-hour drive.
In the bus?
In the bus.
My goodness. And you called me the other day and you said, look, we need to do something.
Exactly.
This terrible incident, these criminals walking into this church, spraying people with gunshots, killed 6. 1 bullet entered baby Osenia's mother, exited her, and entered his head. And he's in hospital right here in Nairobi. What prompted you to do what you are about to do?
A marvelous question, Jeff. What prompted me to do what I have done on 2 previous occasions, and that has prompted me to do it on the 3rd occasion, is that the reality speaks for itself. Gangsters walked into a church at Likoni in Mombasa on Sunday morning, sprayed worshippers with bullets. There are 2 aspects to it. One, bringing the perpetrators to book, which we are yet to do. The second one, and the most important one, is we need to bury the dead, treat the sick, and take care of the victims. As we go about the perpetrators, we need to do something about those who are languishing in hospitals. So an SMS number was provided in the media, and the family was pleading for help. I saw the father hold the young baby in his arms when one of the reporters was reporting it from the referral hospital at Mombasa. The baby was crying, "Mom, mom, mom." He was so surprised. How comes there are so many people watching him and his mother is not one of those? So that is a cry that comes from the heart. And I responded to that cry. It was, as a parent, as a brother, as a sister, I needed to do something. Besides, we are a religious nation. In our preamble to the Constitution, it begins that we acknowledge the supremacy of the Almighty God, honor our independence heroes, and are proud of our cultural, religious, and ethnic diversity. So Al-Shabaab and those militants who did what they did are fighting our civilization. They are against our unity and diversity.
But someone would ask you, Constable, they'll say, look, you're Muslim as well, and people have their preconceived notions about Muslims.
Wonderful. That is why I'm also doing what I'm doing. I'm sending a message to the Muslims as well as to the Christian brothers. It is threefold. I intend to kill a single stone with 3 birds in doing what I did. The first one is seek the blessings of my Almighty so that He simplifies whatever I intend to achieve in life as a young, ambitious man, the same way I'm simplifying, I'm being my brother's keeper. Second, I intend to inform the Muslims that, look, you are being so silent, while extremists and fundamentalists are doing what they are doing in your name, in your religion. You are supposed to come out strongly and say, no, as Muslims, we are very peaceful people. The word Islam comes from the word salam, the Arabic root salam, which means peace. Islam is about peace, and this world requires peace. And humanity is crying for the peace. And we should be the advocates. We should be agitating for peace more than any. Because the word Islam itself is about peace. Therefore, we must come out strongly to condemn that.
Let me ask you
I
this.
also intend to appeal to my Christian brothers that please let us not play into the hands of the extremists, because the intention is to pit us against each other and break this nation into a civil war. So we are with you in this war. This is a war against the Kenyan nation. It's not a war by Muslims against Christians. We are all victims of these heinous atrocities committed by extremists. So let us fight it as a team from one side. As a Muslim and fellow Muslims, we are with you in this struggle. So please don't be told that hii washenzi wanawapiga kwa hivyo take up arms and let's start killing Muslims. We should not go that way. We are together in this war as one sovereign, indivisible people.
Absolutely, Constable. Okay, the irony in all this is you are part of the security forces,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Based in Kitale, but you're part of the security forces.
Yes.
Our security forces seem to be on the defensive. They seem to be on the back foot. They seem to be proactive rather than reactive. That church massacre could have been avoided. Apparently, there was intel given to police that an attack was going to happen. What's going on in our forces?
If I answer that question objectively, then you'll be fixing my hide on the fence, because I'm not obliged to answer those policies. I leave those ones to be addressed by the Inspector General and the leadership at the helm of affairs of the National Police Service Commission.
But as a police officer, as a
Yes,
constable
yes.
in the field,
Yes.
is enough being done to protect your fellow Wananchi?
At the grassroots as constables, we are doing everything at our disposal. Where I am based at Kitale, I got a wonderful OCPD in the name of James Kimani, a great supervisor. I got a great OCS in the name of Chief Inspector Robert Arab Sugut, who has also sent his donations with me, which we have just sent by that M-Pesa. And it depends on the managerial abilities of the person in charge. Before arrival of Chief Inspector Sugut, crime was high in Kitale. After his arrival, suddenly it has come down. And all he did was move certain personnel that were not worthy for a certain cause from where they were and redeploy them. And they proved to be very useful. So we need meritocracy is another factor. You mentioned my qualifications. I think I can do better than what I'm doing in Kitale. Instead of patrolling the streets, I can do something better at the managerial level.
I think 42 million Kenyans would agree with you there, Constable. You know, I didn't give our Twitter handle. I'm going to do it right now. My Twitter handle is @Koinange Jeff. Constable's is @Elmoge. The hashtag is JKL. There's already a tweet in from Nkosinati Butelezi, and you were talking about extremism, right? He says, ask PC about Sheikh Makaburi. Your thoughts about him?
I heard him speak live the other night after that vicious incident took place. And Kaburi was blatantly telling Kenyans live, as though he was speaking on behalf of Muslims, that dawa ya mukafiri ni bunduki. Where on earth, where is it written in the Quran? Makaburi shall be charged with incitement. There is no two-way about it.
And yet he's allowed to walk the
He's
streets.
allowed to walk. There is no need as to why he should keep reporting to police stations when he's making such statements that are pitting Kenyans against each other. That is nowhere in the Quran. That is nowhere in the Quran.
Yeah. J.J. Waziri is saying, why is he still a policeman when he can go and practice law and make more money than being a cop?
Well, admission procedures to the Kenya School of Law are tough. But surprisingly, despite having done a bachelor's degree prior to the law and another master's degree after the law, the qualifications for entry to the Kenya School of Law so that you may gain entry is that you must have scored a B plane in English in the KCSE. Suppose I didn't score a B plane in English in the KCSE, but I pursued languages and I'm a PhD holder in law. I cannot still practice law. That is the problem. Those regulations ought to be changed so that there are lecturers who lecture at the university but cannot practice law simply because they did not score a B plane in English in the KCSE. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm a victim of that regulation.
Let's come back to your gesture.
Yes.
You're giving your month's salary.
Yes.
Am I allowed to ask how much that is?
Yes.
Go on, I'm asking.
My payslip is here. Shall I use it?
Please, after taxes.
After the taxes.
That's a note.
January, February, March. Yes.
This is your pay slip
Yes.
after taxes.
After taxes. It's not a gimmick, it's a reality.
All right. So net pay in March, right? March
Yes.
2014.
Yes.
Net pay is 39,735.
Yes.
You're going to give this.
Yes.
You're going to give this entire amount
Yes.
to Baby Osenia?
Yes.
There is a general M-Pesa pay bill number. I don't know if you've seen it for Likoni victims. You know that. KTN has actually started one. And so far, we've raised close to 1 million shillings from Kenyans' well-wishers all over. Close to 1 million, 900 and change as of this evening. So we're going to add this to that. And KTN has said they will match whatever the total amount will be at that time. So I can say we're going to put 39,735 and 60 cents in there. Why are you doing this?
Why am I doing it? I'm doing it because allow me to tell a little tale from Abraham Lincoln. You remember in 1860 when he became the president of the United States, no sooner had he become the president than the southern black agriculturalists waged the war of secession. He promised them, okay, listen to my brothers. Your main problem is the policy of slavery and slave trade being pursued by the American government. I intend to abolish that policy. So please put down your arms. They refused. So they went on a war, he countered the war, and casualties were suffered at both sides. To an extent, the American military suffered heavy casualties. The president had to issue a conscription order where young men above 18 had to be forcefully recruited into the army. And they suffered huge casualties. So after the end of the war, and he was successful, at the beginning of his second term, one of the days, while he was going through the files of the Massachusetts State Department, he came across a story involving a mother known as Suzanne, whose 4 sons were forcefully conscripted into the army, and they all lost their lives. So as great as Lincoln was, he wept and sobbed. And as a token of appreciation for what she did for the nation, he's put pen on paper. And this is what he told her, I quote, "Dear Madam Susan, I feel how weak and fruitless must be any words of mine which will attempt to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. May the Almighty God assuage you from the anguish of your bereavement, and may he leave you the solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice at the altar of freedom." I'm equally making sacrifices at the altar of freedom because we're almost losing our sovereignty to bandits and gangsters. I believe I've answered you, Jeff.
And you're still a constable and you're quoting Lincoln?
I am a constable, and I'll continue to quote Lincoln because I am a lawyer by profession, a journalist by profession, and
But don't you think, like the tweet said, don't you think you could be doing more for your country? And I'm not putting pressure on you or anything.
Yes.
But don't you think you could be doing more?
I believe I can, but where is the opportunity? I've applied for so many jobs, even at the county level. Counties have become devolved ethnicities and tribes and clans. They see all those resumes and just pick a young all-level student just because he happens to be the clansman of a powerful person in the county government. So we have to pray.
Does that leave little or no room for someone like Mohammed Elmoge?
Jeff, unless we overhaul the way we do things. Because as a student of governance, if we want efficiency and effectiveness, we must be transparent and accountable. We must be responsive. We must be responsible. We must have a very efficient and meritocratic public service. Everything must be done on merit.
Absolutely. I want to talk more about that after the break. And also, how can we reunite this very divided nation? I think we are more divided than we've ever been. Like you said, it's all about ethnicity, ethnicity, ethnicity.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that after the break. By the way, that M-Pesa pay bill number is 505601. The account is Likoni Victims. If you want to send, if you feel that you want to contribute, press that button. Do like Constable Mohammed Elmoge. What a story. What a man. I tell you, if this man doesn't inspire you tonight, I don't know what will, but maybe this is what we need to feel the Kenyanness in us. We are live at the Terrace Restaurant of the Intercontinental Hotel. This is Jeff Koinange Live, and JKL returns in a moment. Hotel tonight, we are speaking to an amazing Kenyan, only 39 years old, with literally 4 degrees to his name, and he's still, after working 10 years in the police force, is still a constable. But that doesn't deter him from seeking his goal. He wants to unite an entire nation. A tough call, a challenge, but he's doing it by giving, the gift of giving, an entire month's salary. In fact, Constable Morgan, people are asking, what is your family going to live on? What are they going to live on? You've just given up your entire month's salary.
The Almighty God, when I gave the entire salary in July 2011, I received quadruple the amount I gave without soliciting for any. So God works in wonderful ways.
A lot of people are tweeting in. Mohammed Saif said, this definitely simplifies that Kenyans will always remain united regardless of religious attribution. You agree?
I agree, absolutely.
Vunyugane says, I salute Elmoge for such a big heart. Indeed, he is a Kenyan hero. God bless him. And then someone else, I can't see what they said, but I saw earlier, they're saying, look, maybe Elmoge is just seeking publicity. What do you tell them?
Okay, good. That is also a view, because people don't think there are always 2 sides of a coin. I don't intend to achieve anything from the publicity, because all I'm doing is address a pragmatic issue that has unfolded before our own eyes. Here is a baby with a bullet lodged in his head. The family is crying out for help. It is not a story Jeff has concocted. Jeff is only putting into perspective what is happening in reality. So many responded, and I'm one of the respondents.
But Kenyans are like that, they'll go one way and they'll go the other way. There's no in between, country of extremes. Speaking of extremes, do you think we've become more tribal than ever?
Yes, I believe so, because if you look at the ads of jobs being made by counties, it doesn't occur to me applying for a job at Samburu or Kirinyaga or Nyeri. Neither will it occur to a Kikuyu to apply for a job in Garissa or Mandera, because it has become a natural phenomenon that those who hail from those regions, who belong to those ethnic communities, are supposed to be applying for the jobs. So it is it's a wrong way of analyzing the issue. It's a wrong way of perceiving it.
Can we change that?
We can change it if we change our mindsets. If we poorly say we want a meritocratic system, we have a public service in place, Jeff. We are talking about a ballooning wage bill. you know, certain things must be done the way they're supposed to be done. There are no shortcut about it. So if it is employment which has to be based on the basis of merit, let be it, so be it. Yes, we can change it.
If you weren't a constable, if you weren't a policeman, what would you be? What would be the ideal thing you'd want to do?
A human rights activist.
Why?
Because I feel it is ingrained in my nature that I should advocate for the rights of others. Because right from when I grew up in Wajir County, well, I'm a police officer, but I grew up what police brutality is all about. I've witnessed the Wagala massacre of 1984 while I was in class 3 in Wajir County, where thousands of innocent young Somali Kenyans were rounded up in Wagala airstrip and were set ablaze just because of their ethnicity. So it touches me to see people being discriminated on the basis of their ethnicity or religion or color or race. I grew up in an environment where that was rampant, and it affected me so much.
Did when you were growing up, did you ever think that religion and crimes, people basing their crimes on religion, did you think that would ever come in your time? And I'm talking about everything from Westgate to what happened this weekend.
We are seeing it. We are seeing it, Jeff. It is happening. So, denying it will be denying the truth. But it is happening. Really, Islam, especially, is one of the most misunderstood ideologies and religions in the world.
But who makes it misunderstood? Who makes it? Because
Islam has been hijacked by people who claim to be Muslims, but are absolutely not Muslims. You see, it has been hijacked. So it is the true, real Muslims who are supposed to come out, not only condemn those acts, but put Islamic structures in place so as to seal those loopholes.
And those individuals who call themselves sheikhs, who influence a whole bunch of young recruits, they're not Muslim?
You cannot call yourself a Muslim once you are homicidal. They don't go together. Islam is so peaceful. The religion brought by the most illustrious creature who ever surfaced on the face of the earth, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is so peaceful that during the Hudaybiyah Treaty, signed between early Meccan Muslims and early Meccan pagans, Prophet Muhammad had to go to disadvantage because one of the clauses of the treaty stated that if a Muslim converts to a pagan, then he won't be allowed to go back to his religion. But if an early Meccan pagan converted to Islam, he will be allowed to go back to his path. That is the much sacrifices he made. So Islam is far from extremism.
But then all these issues we hear surrounding Islam. For instance, if a suicide bomber blows himself up, the promises in the life after. Is all that lies? Is all that propaganda?
Absolute fallacy. You can't see God's heaven when you blow up yourself up. The word jihad has been misinterpreted.
And yet, young men, young women strap themselves with explosives, walk into crowded areas, and blow themselves up. How are they convinced to do that?
They have been indoctrinated by the devils who use them. Absolute indoctrination, which is a fallacy, which is far away from what Islam preaches. Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, a chapter in the Quran, Surah Al-Kafirun, tells us that you are supposed to do dialogue with the non-Muslims. Talk to them about the virtues of Islam. If they accept it, welcome them to the religion. If they don't accept, please respect their position and live side by side with them. Peacefully coexist. If you go to the market and God blesses you with a quota of meat, put 2 glasses of water, one on behalf of your neighbor, knock him at your door, at his door, and say, God blessed me with this quota of meat. I added 1 extra soup of water for your sake. It is that much, friendly. It's that much brotherly.
But then when they walk into a church and massacre innocent worshippers, what does that tell us about?
I even refused the word Islam or Muslims to be used for such people. They cannot be said to be Muslims, Jeff. And we Muslims, the Muslim political leadership and the Islamic religious leadership must sit down together. SUPKEM and NAMLEF must sit down together and map out a strategy of how those loopholes being used by those extreme fundamentalists can be sealed, because they're using the pulpit of the mosque. So there is an imam. The imam has a committee at the mosque. So the Islamic syllabus is the Quran, which is the main source of law, followed by Prophet Muhammad's sayings, which is called the Sunnah. Anything outside that is an addition to the religion. So anybody who preaches what is not in the Quran ought to be stopped. And we must have institutions in place. And it is the right time for the Muslim political leadership and the Muslim religious leadership to come together and address these issues, because there are loopholes in those committees.
But then when you have people like Makaburi preaching hate, spewing venom, who's going to listen?
No, we have laws in place. Our laws are very clear. Makaburi, what he uttered was absolute incitement. He incited Kenyans against Kenyans. And he is misquoting the Quran. What is it that makes Makaburi to be the only interpreter who has the right to interpret the Quran the way he does, while the millions of other Muslims do not interpret it the same way?
But he still has millions of followers.
That is where we are losing the battle. We must win the youths back, because they only have his ears. We must have Islamic institutions where these issues are addressed.
Tony Gashoka, he says, JM once said, Kenya has 10 millionaires and 10 million poor people. He says, ask Mohammed to start a march of peace and I will join him.
I'm more than willing.
Would you want to do that?
I'm more than willing.
Cutting across religious divide.
Exactly. Because at one time, Martin Luther King said, I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will one day sit down together at the table of brotherhood. We have seen it. Obama, the son of a former slave, and his deputy, Joe Biden, are sitting down together at the table of brotherhood. We have seen it, man, and we can realize it.
Someone says, Vin J.A. says, I hope IG Kimayo is watching.
Hopefully. And I believe he should be impressed having such a police officer at the grassroots, representing him with a lot of vigor and determination.
You are passionate about your job, aren't you?
I am.
You love what you do.
I love what I do, because it is a holistic job. Detecting crime, investigating crime, combating crime. You know, the anger that Kenyans are showing for those who did those vicious attacks at Likoni on Sunday is in our hands. And therefore, we go representing you there.
James Sifuna is asking, why is it that the majority of good Muslims do not have the courage to condemn the bad ones? What do they fear?
What do they fear? You know, the human race has so many things disturbing it, so many things swaying it. So, interest. And politics is becoming more supreme than religion of late. And interest is what underlies all this. So there are a lot of good Muslims who passionately feel that what Makaburi and his likes are doing is absolutely wrong. Only that they do not have the forum to express their anger. So that is why I'm telling, and I'm appealing passionately to the Muslim political leadership and to the Muslim religious leadership to use this opportunity to prove to Kenyans that indeed Islam is not as it has been maligned to be. Let us propagate Islam as it is. The original Islam is based on the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, besides the supreme law of God, which is the Quran, which tells us to peacefully coexist with the believers of other faiths.
Collins Ochola, he says, Elmoge is a man who has done what many cannot. I salute him because he is a better man than most, including me. That's what Collins says. Do people come up to you and say, thank you for what you're doing? Do they come up?
Yes, they do, including my fellow police officers at the police station. They appreciate. Yes, including my OCS. He has given me his donation, which we have just sent, isn't it? So he has given, so he's so passionate. He feels this is a good, worthy cause. This is a cause to die for.
But then at the same time, there are a lot of people who, when you do good things, they hate you more. I mean, after you gave the Kenyans for Kenya initiative, you were shipped out to some police post in Trans-Nzoia County,
That is true.
right?
That's true.
I mean, is that difficult living like that?
It is human nature, and people respond differently to different situations. When I came across this issue in the media concerning baby Cyprian Osinya, my first reaction was to communicate with you and tell you, Brother Jeff, I also want to partake in that national contribution. You accepted it. After we fixed the date for this, I went to see my OCS, Chief Inspector Robert Sogut, Arab Sogut, who is new at the station, barely 3 months. And I told him, my commander, this is what happened, and I intend to submit my donation to Jeff. But Jeff says, no, don't just send it. Please come for a discussion. And please, I request for your off duty. And he said, that is wonderful. Go and book the OB and have this as my donation and say thanks to Jeff for inviting you to the bench.
So there are good police out there,
They
aren't
are
there?
good. My OCS is a wonderful man.
Utumishi
And
kwa
so is
wote.
my OCPD.
It's all
Yes,
about utumishi.
It is all about Utumishi kwa wote.
Oh, man, I want to talk more about that after the break. And also, you're only 39 years old. 39.
Yes.
And you're doing all of this.
I haven't done a quarter of what I'm supposed to do.
Let's talk about that when we come back. By the way, that M-Pesa pay bill number is 505601. And the account number is Likoni Victims. If you feel the need, do the necessary, just like Constable Mohammed Elmoge. Also, keep your tweets coming at Elmoge, at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. What a man, what a Kenyan, what a soul, what a human being. Don't even think of touching that remote control, folks. There's more coming with the Constable after this. Back in a moment.
Yes, Kipto. How are you doing? How is the show? Thank
Sonia?
you so much.
Are we looking?
Thank you so much.
Yangu or Zote? Three shows, Sonia, 3 shows. Rashid Ukopoa?
Yes, PC Monene, how are you doing? How is the show?
Pakache.
Bado sijamaliza, niko na Jeff hapa. It is half time. Thank you so much. Unaonaje show? How is the show? Sawa sawa. Thank you so much. Okay. Sawa sawa. Tuma tu kwa account yangu.
Yeah.
Asante. Yes, PC Bosere. Oh, who am I? Who am I? Yes, my dear brother. Hata anakusikia unamsalamia.
Msalimia
Pokea salamu
kabisa.
from PC Bosire.
Msalimia sana.
Asante sana. Unaendeleaje Bosire?
About 1 minute. Stand by, everybody. Hey, I'm being Nancy to put your update. And welcome back to Jeff Koinange live at the Intercontinental. What a guest we have today. Constable Mohammed Elmoge with 4 degrees. He's got a BA in political science and sociology. He's got a law degree. He's got a postdoctorate in journalism and working on a master's in governance and ethics. And he's a constable in the Kenya Police Force, has been for the last 10 years. But it's not about his credentials or his resume. It's about what he's done and doing. Giving up an entire month's salary for a worthy cause. And the tweets are coming in thick and fast. DJ Crowbar, he says, this Elmoge guy is one heck of a Kenyan. Richard Mwangi says, Elmoge is a true Muslim in Kenya. In Kenya, Islam has been hijacked because it doesn't have proper leadership. Globally, every society must have a leader. Peter Maloba says, Muslim leadership in Kenya should be denouncing Makaburi ideologies publicly.
Surely.
And they are not.
I agree with him, absolutely.
And they are not.
I don't know why they are not. Because politics is so intertwined with religion that instead of religion becoming supreme, politics has overtaken religion, and therefore, as long as your religious interest gets affected, if you have to condemn something, then you shelve it. That is not supposed to be what is happening. Makaburi shall be summoned by the political and the religious leadership of this country, and he should be told right on the face, Mr. Kaburi, we disagree with you, and that is not the version of Islam Prophet Muhammad has taught and he has propagated. It is neither in the Quran, neither in his teachings. We disagree with you. If you don't stop what you are doing, you will face the full consequences of the law. He should see himself to be the only Muslim doing that. He should not see himself to be having followers. And therefore, let's go win the youth from him. Let him remain all alone and face the law.
And he said things to the effect that Westgate was justified.
How? How? By who? By which God? By which God? The God of Moses? The God of Abraham? The God of Muhammad? Who are all one and the same? Or Kaburi? Which religion does Kaburi profess?
Abdullah Yusuf says, George Bush once said, all Muslims are not terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims. Do you agree?
No, I totally disagree, because terrorism is not a Muslim monopoly. In India, where I studied for 7 years, we have Hindu terrorists wreaking havoc in a state called Assam. We have the Hindu fundamentalist of the Bharatiya Janata Party of the current Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. We have seen Protestant fundamentalism and terrorism in IRA in UK under Jerry Adams. They got what they got because of using bloodshed and terrorism. So terrorism is not a Muslim monopoly. It's not a terrorism is a war against human civilization, and we need to handle it jointly together as one people.
Chief Hustler says, 3 cheers to you, Comrade Elmoge, a role model, and may God bless you abundantly. When you hear all this praise from people, do you think it's just because of what you've done right now? Because, you know, you're going to go back to Kitale in a couple of days, and then you'll just be that constable in that police station.
Oh, yes. It is a decision I made with absolute humility. And I'll go back there, continue serving, because even where I am, Jeff, you know, it pains to see somebody travel all the way from those far-flung villages of Trans Nzoia to come to Kitale police station just because, you know, he has been assaulted or his house has been burgled. And at times, we can't get to where the incident happened because of lack of logistics. That is why we really appreciate the president when he came up with the initiative of giving the police 1,000 vehicles. It really boosted us. As we speak, we have 2 police Land Cruisers standing side by side at Kitale police station.
And that's helped?
That has helped in a very wonderful way.
Abdullah Qasim, he says, truth must be told, pain must be shared equally. Why are we only feeling it one side? Christians must feel our pain too.
They have to.
But he's preaching like Makaburi does. He says Christians must feel the pain.
No, they shouldn't. What pain? What pain? No, the pain of killing them. Suppose Jeff, Christians retaliate. And naive Christians with the same IQ and mentality like Makaburi preach, war against Muslims. Where shall we be? This country will not be talking about a wage bill and a constitutional reform or a referendum. No. We'll have human skulls decorating institutions as happened in Uganda decades ago. So shall we go the Rwanda way, and then after a decade of efforts of reconciliation, realize that what we did was wrong? We need not go there. We can learn from, the intelligent people learn from the mistakes committed by their brethren.
Yeah, but unfortunately, history has a funny way of repeating itself every now and then.
Exactly.
Philip Jumbe says, I salute you, Mr. Officer. This guy deserves a promotion. How come you haven't been promoted in 10 years in the service?
That is why the National Police Service is in place. That is why a vetting process is taking place, purposely to determine competence and suitability. And I believe it is the high time for young men and women. There are so many brilliant young men and women down there, the lower echelons of the National Police Service. Some of them are working on projects on how they cannot work or be entrances at the report office and at the crime office by virtue of their IT degrees, business administration degrees. They are so prolific. The only thing missing for them is that morale and motivation, which I believe will come at the end of this vetting process, because it will open the roads for us.
But will it unite us as a nation? Because at the end of the day, we seem split, not only ethnically, but religiously.
Yes, we are, but I will have to appreciate our Christian brothers, because they have understood the situation as ought to be understood by intelligent people. That is why I haven't heard of any Christian speak venom the way Makaburi does. Why? Because they have understood that our Muslim brothers are not out to eradicate us. If anything, they are victims of the same vicious trend. Mashimu Hassan of Kamakunji is in hospital and cannot attend his parliamentary duties because of the work done by terrorists. He is a Somali by faith, a Somali by ethnicity, and a Muslim by faith, and he has fallen victim to that. So that sets a good example. The likes of Abdul Haji, the hero of the Westgate, a Muslim by faith, and a Somali by ethnicity, saved so many lives. We have Abbas Goulet, one of my role models in this country, the powerful, humane Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross. You know what he did? He's a Muslim by faith and a Somali by ethnicity. Therefore, this is not a religious issue. This is a national issue, Kenyan civilization by threatened by extremists.
Speaking of extremists, can we win this war against Al-Shabaab?
Yes, we can. Yes.
When a car bomb is discovered in a police station a week after the car was parked there, and allegedly it came all the way from Somaliland or Somalia, all the way ended up in a police station and with a detonator. Can we win this war?
Yes, we can. With the right funding, with the right training, with the right forensic labs, with the determination. Prior to the discussion on the ballooning wage bill arising, all police officers were hopeful that upon Madam Sarah Serem conducting a remuneration review, police officers will be justified for an increment. But the process stalled because we are talking about a different issue now. So the morale has to be up. Facilities has to be there. And funding has to be there. For so long, it is the President Uhuru Kenyatta's government that is lifting the National Police Service. And my wonderful Inspector General, David Kemayo, things are beginning to show a sparkle. Therefore, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, let's just hope it's not an oncoming train.
Okay.
Because Al-Shabaab seems to be conducting their business at will.
And Jeff, where else does the solution lie? There is a friend of mine. He is the Deputy County Commissioner, Koinange Central. He's Abdi Mohammed, a graduate with a master's degree in peace and conflict resolution from Coventry University in UK, and a master's degree in international security studies from Leicester. He's an expert on Al-Shabaab affairs. I wish you call him to this bench
Yeah, I'll get
so
his,
that
give me his contacts later.
I have.
Yeah.
I will give you.
Yeah.
He's an expert on Al-Shabaab affairs, an academic expert who is contacted by the CNN and the BBC for his perception on Westgate and what happened in Mombasa. So our government should work with such Muslim Al-Shabaab experts to share insights because they understand the root cause. The root cause is basically, you know, marginalization for so long, unemployment for so long. That's why you had Honorable Duale, the majority leader, the other say that the government must go back to the 500 million issue of the port to serve as, because most extremists seem to be using the weakness of unemployment of the youth to actually recruit them.
Yeah, I'm going to read one more tweet and then leave you to conclude. It says, this is Hezbon Sidon. He says, this man reminds me of a Kenyan patriot. This is what Kenyans have been looking for. Closing thoughts, Constable.
Closing statements. Shall I quote Abraham Lincoln again?
Quote whoever you want, my brother. I love it.
He said during his famous Gettysburg speech, I read from the How to Influence People by Public Speaking, written by Daniel Carnegie Institute. In 1885 at Gettysburg. That speech, which Abraham Lincoln considered not to have scored, but which grammarians and speech writers consider to be the best speech ever pronounced by the lips of a mortal man. A copy of which has been borrowed by the Chancellor of Oxford University and fixed it on the notice board so that all learners of the English language can aim to achieve such mastery and command of the English language.
Go on.
He said, 407 years ago, our forefathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that we were all created equal. Today we are engaged in a war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived or so dedicated can long endure. We are met in a great battlefield of that war. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, have done it far above our poor power to add or to detract. A perfect scenario with us. We have a preamble in the Constitution that says, we acknowledge the supremacy of the Almighty God, honor our independent struggles, heroes, recognize the need for us as Kenyans to live as one sovereign, indivisible nation, and are committed to preserving our environment for our posterity.
Absolutely.
And therefore we enact, adopt, and give to ourselves this Constitution. God bless Kenya. God bless us all.
God bless you, my brother.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Well done.
It's a great pleasure meeting you.
And thank you for doing what you're doing.
We'll continue to do, man.
I hope you can inspire 1, 2, 3 more Kenyans to do what you do.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
That M-Pesa pay bill number again is 505601. And the account number is Likoni Victims. Mohammed Elmoge has given his entire month's salary. A lot of people are also contributing to that account to help save those victims who are in hospital, especially little 1-year-old baby Osinya. This is what we mean when we say we bring out the best in Kenyans. Constable Mohammed Elmoge is no doubt up there with the best of the best of the best. Thanks so much for being with us this week on Jeff Koinange Live. Next week, Wednesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. New week, new topic, new guests. Keep watching, because you cannot find guests like Mohammed Elmoge anywhere else but right here on Kenya's television network, KTN. Thanks for watching. Good night and good luck.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Thank you so
Well
much.
done.
Thank you so much.